Do American corpses decompose more slowly than our European counterparts?
Hey everyone, my name is Dr. Mark Shankman, CEO and founder of Rentec Global Solutions, here to talk to you about body decomposition. How crazy is that? But the reason I bring this up is that there's a belief that all the preservatives in our food is actually affecting the rate at which our bodies decompose, and the difference between the American and European amount of preservatives in our food and pesticides in our food. So here's the basic premise, that Americans and American society demand more preservatives in our food to keep the food on our shelves longer, and more pesticides than our European counterparts. Now, the FDA and the EPA are responsible for the amount of pesticides in our food. Now, here's the amazing thing when you actually look at the amount of pesticides and how they're measured. So in America, they're measured by the amount of residue in our foods, whereas in Europe, the amount of actual pesticide that's being utilized is what's looked at. And they use a precautionary measure, meaning they actually have to prove over in Europe that the pesticides that are being used are safe. They have to prove safety before they're actually able to be used, whereas here we just have to prove that there's not a significant level of preservative or pesticide in our food. So this drastically changes the way that the two areas deal with food and food production. In America, we're using pesticides almost exclusively to try to keep critters out and try to control how our food is produced. Yet in Europe, they're using organic farming techniques to actually improve the crop yields without having to rely on pesticides, chemicals, preservatives in the food. And it's a dramatic shift and a dramatic difference in how healthy the food is. In Europe, their food is healthier than here in the United States. Even more crazy is if you think about the exact same products are actually healthier in Europe and more dangerous in the United States, simply because of the way that the food is produced and the pesticides and the preservatives that are used. So Americans rely on pesticides and preservatives to keep the pests away and to prolong the shelf life of our food, negatively affecting our health. Yet in Europe, they're practicing organic farming techniques to eliminate the use of pesticides, or at least drastically reduce them, and don't rely on preservatives as much, and so the shelf life is shorter, but their food is actually healthier. So here's the crazy thing, the exact same foods are actually more healthy in Europe than they are here in the States. If you look at a simple produce item like an apple, the same exact apple, the same type of apple, the same apple itself is much healthier in Europe than they are here in the States because of the chemicals that we're using. And as I mentioned, in Europe, they're using organic farming mechanisms to reduce the pests and to keep the items on the shelf. And here in the States, we have access to those same organic farming techniques. At Rentec, we offer different hydroponic, aeroponic solutions that require no pesticides whatsoever. And you can literally pick the fruits and the vegetables off of the vertical farm and eat it straight, because there's no dirt, there's no pesticides, there's no anything. It's all hydroponic and perfectly clean. Plus, with permaculture, you can actually get self-sustainable, renewing produce year after year after year. And the model of permaculture creates zones that actually one zone protects the other. And it's a whole ecosystem that you're creating. And that ecosystem keeps the pests away, keeps the critters out, prolongs the life of the produce and the food that you're generating, and is so much healthier for you. So we need to start thinking about how we actually use these pesticides and these preservatives in our food. Is it really a good thing for us? Is it healthy for us? Is it contributing to disease? Now, here's the other amazing thing. I want to share this with you guys. So many people here in the States are so against vaccines because of the potentially deleterious effects of these vaccines. However, nobody's thinking about the food that we're eating, the poisons that are being used. And yes, they are poisons. The poisons that are being used to grow and generate our food, and then we're feeding to our children, we're feeding to our families, and yet everybody's screaming about vaccines. So I'm not here to talk about the benefits or the negative ends of vaccines, but we're not thinking about the things that we're putting into our bodies on a regular basis that we've been doing for years. Forget the new stuff, forget the new vaccine, the COVID vaccine and everything else. We've been doing this for years. We've been putting these chemicals in our bodies for years. And what is it doing to us? Well, you have the opportunity to call them out. You have the opportunity to demand healthier food. You have the ability to grow your own food. There's so much that we can do and so much that we can change here in the States. So if you agree with me, please like, share, and comment. Leave some comments down below, whether you believe in what I'm talking about, whether you think it's all nonsense, whether you think that the pesticides are killing everybody, or if you think that I'm all blowing smoke up everybody's skirt. So I'd love to hear back from you, and I'd love to hear some other topics that you want me to talk about. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.